Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where you guys know the deal. People think the world revolves around them. And in today's episode, guys, OP tells a story about the time a psycho Karen lets her boys run wild in a coffee shop, and she attacks OP for telling them to stop. Guys, buckle in because you'll be shaking your heads so hard in this one. I hope you enjoy the lineup today, and as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. Let's dive in. So I totally forgot about this until we had a games night and were drinking, and we were talking about the most outrageous things that we've ever witnessed. So buckle yourselves in. This happened many years ago, and I remember most of it because it was so stupid that I wrote it all in my journal. I'm female, and at the time, I was in my late 30s, as were the rest of the group. I used to have a friend who had the worst younger sister ever, who we'll call Karen. She was spoiled, entitled, had a major attitude problem, and she had a rotten little 8-year-old girl. This kid was such an a-hole, and her mom enabled her. The kid would always take people's stuff and either mess with it, or break it, or steal it, and would throw a fit if you stopped her, causing mommy to get in your face. And of course, Karen never offered to replace anything. So one night, a bunch of us, all women on this night, went to my friend's house for a horror movie marathon. We did movie nights 2 to 3 times a month, always with a different theme, and each of us was expected to bring a snack, wine, and 1 or more movies, which were usually R-rated. Suffice to say, young kids were not allowed, adults only. On this night, we were well into our first movie and 2 bottles of wine, when my friend's front door opens and her sister walks in unannounced. She then loudly yells that she's going clubbing and tries to dump the kid on us because we were staying home anyways, so it should not be a big deal. At that, my friend's pissed and refused to watch the kid because A, her kid is a spoiled, destructive brat, B, Karen didn't call or ask despite multiple warnings, C, this was her time to unwind with friends, not babysit her sister's rotten crotch fruit, and D, none of the movies were remotely child-friendly, and she wasn't going to alter her plans just because her sister wanted to go clubbing. Now, she didn't say this, she just gave a flat no, to which both Karen and the kid then threw a tantrum. And it turned out that Karen told her daughter that she would be having a fun movie night with Auntie Jessica. As they argued, the kid just took the opportunity to grab the remote and started playing the DVD we paused when they let themselves in. It was the 1988 remake of the movie The Blob, and it was mine, and she starts watching. Now, none of us stopped her because, honestly, we were too busy watching the sisters fight to notice. Ironically, we had paused it just before a particularly scary and gross scene, where the boy gets grabbed, pulled underwater, and then comes up half melted and screaming, before being dragged back under and devoured. Naturally, the brat freaks out, and she starts crying, which alerts Karen, who then starts screaming at us for letting her kid watch our disgusting movies. And then she demanded to know who it belonged to. Since I hated Karen, I got up off the couch, but surprisingly, so did another friend, who I will call Felicia. She was a very buff, sporty girl who Karen hated and actively feared. This was because they gotten into a fist fight the year prior, when Karen decided to try to kiss Felicia's fiance at a party. And no, she wasn't drunk. And then she slapped Felicia, who then promptly beat the crap out of Karen in front of everyone. So Felicia just glares at her and says, it doesn't matter whose movie it is. What matters is you coming in here uninvited, and then giving your sister a hard time for not watching your effing kid, and then getting pissed off when your kid touches stuff that's not hers and ends up scaring herself. Now I suggest that you get your kid, turn around, and go effing home. Now, a smart person would have done what Felicia said, but Karen is a Karen, and she was never particularly smart. Instead of leaving, she turns to me, and she starts getting in my face, probably figuring that I wasn't going to retaliate, as I'm normally a calm and reserved person. She was right, but also very wrong. I may be calm, but I do have a temper. I always have. But my temper will first manifest as sarcasm. right up until I either reach my saturation point or the person picking the fight touches me, and then it's game on. So she got in my face, screaming a mishmash of oral flatulence that I didn't really listen to, nor care about, except a sentence or two that we needed to take care of her kid because her friends were waiting at the bar, and they were having fun without her. When she stopped to take a breath, I said, "Why is it our job to watch your kid? It's not like any of us gave birth to her." Hearing that, Karen actually gasped, like someone in a graphic novel, and she yelled in my face, "You have a son." I reply, "Yes, I do. But do you see him here? No, that's because I'm not a self-centered idiot who would bring him to an adults-only gathering, or dump him on others without asking." And this really set her off. And like any entitled moron who can't fight, she takes a swing at me. And after missing, she tries to slap and claw me. Luckily, she fights like a girl, and too bad for her, I don't. When she went to slap me again, I just grab her arm, grab her hair, and then planted her face hard in the nearest wall, pinning her arm behind her back, and damn, it felt good. Karen struggled and cursed, but I wasn't letting go. I then told her she had 3 choices. Number 1, she could take her kid and leave. Number 2, I could kick her ass in front of her kid, which I would never do, but she didn't know that. Or 3, I could call the cops, have her arrested for assault, and then her ex, who hated her because she cheated on him, would come pick the kid up. She agreed to option number 1, but then she tried to get my friend to side with her because family. How dare my friend let me attack her? My friend responded by taking her keys, removing her house key, and then telling Karen that neither she or her kid were welcome in her house, and to please get the F out. The look on Karen's face was one of utter shock. She then looked at all of us for support, and why she looked at me for help, I just don't get. Realizing that nobody would side with her, she then grabbed her kid, called us all good-for-nothing C-words, especially me, and then she left, saying her parents are better off watching her daughter anyways. My friend apologized to us and then immediately called her parents and gave them the lowdown, and warned them that unless they wanted to end up watching her kid all weekend, that they had better get in their car and go anywhere else, and to warn the other relatives as well. Long story short, Karen did not get to go clubbing, and a few months later, she lost custody of her daughter to her ex. I don't know what happened to her since, and I don't care. You know what, guys? In my opinion, sister totally deserved that little mini whooping she got. Like, it's always mind-boggling to hear about parents just assuming that just because someone's home, it means they have absolutely nothing going on. And just because someone's home hanging out watching movies doesn't automatically make them babysitters, Karen, especially not to your little tornado, who basically destroys everything in her path. And seriously, I love how the parents were also like, nope, we're not doing this. And while we're on the topic of Karens getting whooped, guys, listen to this next one. So do I have a story for you. The day this happened, I was at my local cafe, waiting for my boyfriend. I had been in the cafe for about half an hour, finishing up some university work, when this woman comes in with 6 kids, ages 6 to 12. They were playful at first, which is fine, but this is a very small cafe, and they started getting too rowdy, knocking tables, drinks, climbing on furniture, etc. Everyone was visibly annoyed, while the woman did not seem to care. 45 minutes into this, after bumping into my table several times, causing coffee to spill out of my cup, I had enough, and I said to the kids, calmly but firm, "Excuse me, this is a cafe, not a playground. If you could please calm down." And before I even had a chance to finish my sentence, all of a sudden I hear a loud, booming voice scream, "Who the F do you think you are talking to them like that? Are they your kids?" I look over, and this woman was screaming how it's her responsibility, not mine, to tell her kids what to do. She was really angry at me, so I tried to calm the situation down by saying, "Ma'am, I don't mean any disrespect, nor do I want to start an argument, but they've been running around for over half an hour just bumping into people's tables." She then tells me to shut up, as kids my age, I'm 26, don't know anything about respect in the first place. And that really irked me, so I tell her, "Hey, you're not doing a very good job being responsible for them. Everyone's really uncomfortable and someone has to speak up." She then screams at me and says, "You need to shut up and mind your damn business. They're not yours to tell what to do. Got it?" At this point, she's standing up and getting in my face. I'm still in my seat while she marches over and screams, "You want to fight or something?" I respond, "Please calm down, I'm not trying to do anything." She then says to me, "You want this coffee in your face?" I say to her, "No, I just want you to please look after your kids." She then starts ranting and raving about how no one has the right to speak to her kids like this, and why does it matter how they're acting because they're not my kids. The whole time, the shop owner's trying to calm her down. The woman then does something I never expected. The woman apologizes to the owner before proceeding to throw her hot coffee in my face and getting it all over my work. Now, it wasn't hot enough to cause burns, but it definitely was hot enough to hurt. I say to her, "That's very charming, miss. Thank you for that." She then says to me, "What are you gonna do about it? Are you going to fight me because I got your papers all wet? I will beat you before the police come. Don't you ever tell my kids what to do. I'm not scared of police. They know me." Hearing her say that, I did not say anything for the fear of things escalating into an actual fight. She just told me to keep staying quiet for my sake while getting her family to leave. That's when one man tried to stand up for me and he began shouting at her. The woman was clearly looking to fight someone, anyone, because she says to the man, "What are you going to do, little man? Are you going to hit me because I fight back?" Before raising her own fist, looking around at anyone to charge her. Of course, all the screaming had actually caught some attention from the police who were patrolling the area, and they came inside. Witnesses informed them of the incident, and I told police what happened. They took my information down and will also review security footage. I ended up pressing charges, and they arrested the woman. Honestly, good on OP for not falling for that clear Karen trap of wanting to fight. Guys, I've read enough of these posts to know that yes, that woman was looking for a fight and she wanted to be tough and scary, but we all know as soon as someone even touches her, she'll scream, fall to the floor, play the victim, and throw a tantrum. Nice try, Karen. Glad OP pressed charges. Maybe that will teach her. This story is about my grandfather and how he outsmarted his entitled brother after his brother exploited their mother. About 40 years ago, my great-grandparents were dying. My great-grandfather was the first to go, and great-grandmother was on her way out, abusing morphine to lessen the pain. She was writing a will when she was sober, but she was rarely sober. Her estate was essentially what would be a multi-millionaire's estate, adjusted for inflation. Her estate was in Ireland, while my grandfather and his brother were in England. My grandfather went to his local pub to see his brother. He did this every Saturday night to keep in touch with his brother. This time, something was different. His brother was not there. Instead, his brother spontaneously moved to Ireland to spend some time with his mother, who was heavily on morphine. The morphine was clouding her judgment, and bear in mind, she was writing a will. My grandfather's brother, who we'll call Lee from now on, went to Ireland to cozy up to his mom in hopes of getting her whole estate. My grandfather didn't know Lee was doing this, and he didn't think much of it. Fast forward a year, and great-grandmother kicks the bucket. Funeral day arrives, and everything goes fine, until they get to the will. That's when my grandfather learned that everything she had in the will went to Lee. Nobody else got anything in the will. Put two and two together, and everyone was pissed off at Lee. But the will could not be contested because there were people who signed in witnesses of the will, including her attorney. Lee becomes outcasted, but everyone gives up on trying to save their mother's things, except for Granddad. Lee inherited a large plot of land in Ireland, which was nothing special, except it was in rural Ireland and could not support a septic tank, and it's worth a lot of money. The house on this plot was right on the edge of the land, but the septic tank was on the neighbor's land. Lee did not know this, so he didn't buy the land next to the house. This isn't up to building code, so the house can't be sold until the septic tank's on his land. My grandfather knew this, and he bought the land surrounding this house. Lee fixed up the house and got a building inspector to inspect the house and check if it was up to code so he could sell the house. The inspector caught the septic tank, and he told Lee that he could not sell the house unless the tank's on his land. Lee went to the neighbors to buy the small plot of land that had the septic tank, only to find out that they sold it to my grandfather, and my grandfather was unwilling to sell the land to Lee. Lee had invested easily over £300,000 into the house, so the house was in great shape and it was supposed to be resold. Now Lee can't sell the house for a profit because my grandfather owns the land the septic tank is on, and Lee can't put a septic tank on his land because the land can't support a septic tank. My grandfather had put Lee into a checkmate where Lee has to sell the land and everything on it to my granddad. The thing is, my grandfather's not gonna buy the land for anything more than €5,000, and to this day, Lee still won't sell the land to my grandfather. My grandfather didn't want the land, he just wanted to return the favor to Lee. Lee's now just scraping by on his plot of land because of his stubbornness, and to this day, he still won't accept defeat. What Granddad did was absolutely brilliant, and it pains me to hear that Granddad's brother is such a scummy piece of garbage. Deaths in the family truly bring out the worst in people, and unfortunately, a lot of the times it breaks families apart due to pure greed. I just hope Granddad outlives his brother so his checkmate stands. And this person says, septic tanks require maintenance. I would charge the brother a fee for maintaining his septic tank, and I would charge rent because it's on my property. So my entitled mom and stepdad live 1,500 miles away, making visits kind of arduous. Mom was begging to see us, so I agreed to rent a car and pay for 2 hotel nights, along with a couple of restaurant outings and excursions for all of us, if she paid for the airline tickets. We've done this before, and it's worked just fine. But we've also done it where I've reimbursed her, because she wants the mileage rewards. Everything goes fine-ish until we arrive at her house, where we discover that my daughter will be sleeping on a yoga mat, and my son and I will share a foam roller. I said I'd buy a couple of blow-up mattresses because my kids are teenagers now, and I'm far too old to be sleeping on the floor. At that, my mom was upset, so I dropped the idea. Surely we can survive 5 days on the floor. On day number 3, she has my son basically do all the yard work outside, and then tells us that we're going to the pool. Now, we'd already been swimming 3 times, so we weren't really in the mood, especially when it was a holiday weekend and the pool was packed. My son and I said we would not be swimming at all, but my daughter said that she would put her feet in. She didn't want to swim because she just had her hair done. My mom starts in on her as soon as we arrive with how she's definitely swimming, but my daughter holds firm and says she's not, so she'll sit on the edge and put her feet in. She reminds my stepdad, who tells her that's fine. Well, to my mom, it's not fine. Once my parents are in the pool, they start telling her that she's going in one way or another. And that's when my mom gets out of the pool to push her from behind, while my stepdad just grabs her ankles and drags her into the pool. My daughter freaks out, and she's holding on as tight as she can to the railing, but she's no match for 2 adults. My daughter can swim just fine, but she's dunked as soon as she's fully into the pool. And then my stepdad says, well, now your hair is wet, so you can just have fun. She was scared, but she couldn't see me or her brother because the pool was so crowded. So she stayed with my parents for 10 minutes with a fake smile plastered on her face. She then got out and came to tell me, but she really couldn't tell me everything as my mom was 3 steps behind her. I could see the fear in her eyes. I just packed up my kids and went back to their house, and my mom had a strange look, and I knew something bad happened. Once my daughter was alone with me, she told us what happened, and I was furious. And I said I would talk to my parents about it. Well, the talk went poorly. They apologized to her by telling her that she was fine, and that she was having a good time, and that she can swim, blah blah blah. So why make a big deal out of it? She didn't drown. At that, I told my parents no, she was not fine. The back of her thighs and her lower back was scraped up by being dragged, and she was terrified. I then told the kids to pack up because we don't want them to ever think abuse is okay, even if it's family. Both of my parents forced my kids to hug them goodbye and told my kids that I was a bad mom for teaching them it's okay to run away when you don't want to do something. I was loading the car during that exchange. We then drove to the airport, arriving extremely late, and I moved our return flights up. I did the online check-in, got a hotel so we could catch a couple of hours of sleep on real beds, and then downloaded the boarding passes to Apple Wallet the morning of our flight and went through TSA. Once we got up to our gate, I had a weird feeling, and I checked our flight again, and all 3 were cancelled. That's when I freaked out and went to customer service, who were extremely helpful. I was able to repurchase 2 tickets, but one had already been resold. That's when I burst into tears because I really couldn't leave myself behind or one of the kids, and I had returned our rental car. The agent ended up putting 1 ticket in business class and she didn't charge me. We didn't end up being stranded, but my husband, who did not attend this trip, is so furious that she put her own grandchildren in this situation and said he's never going to allow her access to them again. I think I agree with him, but I also have to admit that the emotional manipulation and control is something she's done since I was a teenager myself. I've just been gray-rocking her for so long that I missed a lot of warning signs. The only reason I even reacted this time was because she targeted my daughter with demeaning comments the entire trip. It suddenly clicked, and it's probably the first time my mom's successfully gotten this emotional response from me in 20 years. My kids immediately blocked her everywhere. I haven't. But I'm not sure if I should send her a text or email letting her know that the airline agent could see exactly when she canceled the tickets, and her rewards account was suspended for malicious behavior. I just don't know. I hope I'm not overreacting to this. The amount of money I spent just to get us home safely was insane. But we just needed to go home, where we're loved unconditionally by my husband's parents. Thanks for reading. Guys, all I can say is thank goodness OP lives 1,500 miles away from her parents. It makes it much easier to go full no contact with them. And yes, that's me saying that OP needs to cut her parents out of her life. Like, what kind of grandparents do that to their grandkids? And I just want to say, guys, that OP is definitely not overreacting like she thinks she is. If anything, she's underreacting a little bit too much, perhaps due to the way her parents raised her growing up. Like, they put their hands on her daughter, dragged her against her will, dunked her underwater, and then canceled OP's plane tickets when she wanted to go home to escape them. Probably to make OP come back to them. They are frickin' psycho parents, I tell you. And this person says, they made you sleep on the floor, they physically assaulted your daughter, they endangered your daughter, they're mentally abusive, and they're minimizing their actions and behavior and using manipulative tactics. Your parents tick all the narcissist, toxic, abusive boxes. Go no contact without sending them an email or message. They know exactly what they've done. There's no need to confront them or warn them about the consequences of their actions. And this person comments, why are you not involving the police? Your parents assaulted your child and she has the physical injuries to prove it. I haven't been in your position being raised by such abusive people, so I don't know how hard it is to break the cycle. But I think it's best you listen to your husband and go no contact, at least for now. Photograph your daughter's injuries and consult a family lawyer. These people need to be kept as far away from any children in the future. I totally agree. And like I said, guys, being 1,500 miles away, thank freaking goodness, OP never has to see them again if she doesn't want to. And guys, I say this because I have friends and family who are in the same position as OP, whose parents act exactly the same. And these parents will never ever come visit because you're not worth the time. You have to go to them. I'm a 50-year-old female and I lost my husband 4 years ago. I also have a 16-year-old daughter. My late husband left me everything and told me to trust his lawyer. My husband worked for 20 years as a doctor and did some minor investing, so I inherited over 7 figures. A year later, I decided to list our home of 12 years and received an offer too good to refuse. With the inheritance as well as the influx of cash from selling the house, I decided to move my daughter and I to Malibu because we've always dreamed of a home next to the beach. My husband was exceptionally tight-fisted and called homes there money pits. We found a beautiful home by the sea. I never personally handled anything regarding buying a home before, so I did not anticipate all the extra costs beyond the sticker price. But my daughter was so excited that I decided to go for it. My late husband's lawyer was furious at my decision, so I stopped taking his calls. I ended up signing with a money manager who said that we'd be passively earning 90% of what surgeons earned per year. But the money manager ended up tanking a lot of our investments. That's when I took the dwindling money out and I made my own investments, which made it worse. And long story short, because of all of that, I now only have around $35,000, not to mention our debts. With the money available to me, I'm looking at being able to pay 1 month of a mortgage, and then I'm basically out of luck until my business gets clients. However, the place where we do have a significant amount of money is the fund my husband started for our daughter. With the money there, I could prevent credit cards from being shut down and not have to worry about the mortgage for many months. So I end up liquidating my daughter's college fund. I told her about it today and she was mad. She said she can't believe her dad's hard work is gone. She also said that she won't be supporting me for retirement. So am I the a-hole for trying to fix my mistakes and trying to keep our house? Holy cow, guys. Reading this post actually made me upset. Like the fact that OP inherited 7 freaking figures, guys, and she went from having all that money to barely being able to pay her monthly mortgage and having to liquidate her daughter's college fund is insane and makes her the biggest a-hole ever. Like, that woman is not bright at all. Like, she decided to not listen to the lawyer that her husband told her to listen to. She decided to move to an extremely expensive area, then decided to trust someone's stupid financial advice, and then pulled the money out and made even dumber investment decisions. Guys, like, this can't be real, but at the same time, a lot of people do this stuff. And now with those stupid decisions, she's taking away her daughter's chances of being able to go to college loan-free. In my opinion, mom should be ashamed of herself. Like, imagine working so hard your whole life, saving money, investing money, making sure your family's taken care of when you're gone, and then something stupid like this happens. In my opinion, OP needs to sell the house, and hopefully she can make some money back and give her daughter the college money that's hers to begin with. But guys, let me know your thoughts on this. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are shaking your heads so hard at this. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our / entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the stories today. I hope you didn't shake your heads too hard. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r/I don't work here lady, where Karens are not scared of police and they're attacking everyone, again, for not serving them. It's a wild ride, so if you enjoyed this episode, go check that one out if you missed it. And Stevie Boy and I will see you in the next one.